Hello, Nicola. My
Hello.
name's Pippa Raskin. Thank you for meeting with me today.
Not a problem.
I hope you found the place okay.
The directions were great. Thank you.
Perfect. Would you like some water?
Yes, please.
Oh, perfect. There you go. So I've asked you to meet with me today because I'm a first-year psychology student at QUT, and I've got this assessment piece in which I've got to find out the importance of communication in the future role that I want to do. And for me, that is adult mental health. And from what I understand, you already work in that industry, in particular PTSD. How long have you been working in this industry for?
I've been working as a mental health nurse for 15 years now.
That is such a long time. You must really enjoy it. And
Yes, I do.
you're the perfect person for this assessment then. So why don't we start off? We're talking about when a client first comes in, how do you get that communication flowing? How do you start that conversation?
Okay, well, firstly, the client on their first visit may be very anxious, so it's very important. I try to make the environment as comfortable as possible. So talking like we are today, chairs like this, is much more conducive to a conversation than rather than over a table.
So over a table, yeah.
That's a barrier.
Barrier, bad communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I try to build up rapport by encouraging them to tell me their story.
So I can't imagine that every patient who comes to see you is open. They're wanting to tell you their story. Particularly with PTSD, people get referred to you.
Yes.
So what do you do when these people just sit there and don't want to speak to you?
Well, I'd obviously reflect back if I saw that a person was particularly anxious. I'd reflect back to them that I appreciate that it's an anxiety-provoking situation, and that they might not want to talk to me, but that I'm trying to make it as not threatening as possible, that I'm only there to help, and that they are very important, and their story is very important to me. So I'd start off with possibly some open-ended questions.
Okay, so firstly, reflection on how you feel. It sounds like in this context it's part of rapport building, letting them understand that you're just there, you're there for that hour session or what you have that week, that you're just there focused on them.
Yes.
It's purely them and you just want to understand why they're sitting here, what's wrong, and just to help them.
That's right.
So tell me about open-ended questions.
Well, by asking open-ended questions, it encourages the client to open up and to tell me their story. So I'd be saying something on the lines of, to help me understand, will you please explain what happened over the last couple of weeks, for example?
So open-ended questions seem really important to actually fully understand the story behind why they're there.
Yes.
Okay, so you'd have to use closed questions as well then. When would you use closed questions?
Well, there are opportunities to do what we call audit tools, where there's a lot of yes or no answers required. So that would be a closed question. Something on the lines of, have you felt anxious over the last 3 days? Most of the time?
Some of the time, yeah. Etc., etc.
Oh, so they're very closed, they're pointed questions.
And they're still useful?
They're useful, yeah.
But you prefer to use open-ended questions?
I think there's a place for both.
Place for both,
yeah.
But
at the right time.
Obviously. Communication just isn't about words that are coming out of your mouth and developing that understanding. It's non-verbals.
Definitely.
As you can see, I use my hands so much.
Very European. I do as well.
So probably looks like I'm smacking my face out here, but I'm not. Importance of non-verbals and the congruency between what a person's saying and...
Correct. I might have somebody who's telling me that they're perfectly fine, everything's okay, they don't need my help. When really what I'm actually seeing from them is somebody who's very closed and very anxious, and maybe they're shaking. So it would be important to be able to reflect that back to them, this is what I'm seeing, but it's not what I'm hearing from you.
So the understanding of nonverbal communication is really important in what you do, you can then tell them that, well, not tell them, but try and get them to understand that, well, maybe you do need my help from what I'm gathering from
what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing
are two different things.
That's right.
Well,
right.
Do you have any other communication skills that you find important?
I find to help the patient or the client appreciate that I am hearing what they're saying, reflecting back to them what they've said.
Reflection, you say it a lot. Reflection is clearly important.
That person then can appreciate that I am listening to them, feeding back to them that helps me to understand that what I've heard is actually what they've said, and that I'm understanding it in the proper way.
So listening as well, clearly, is another skill that you've got to use in your profession.
That's right. And then the client has the opportunity to say, well, actually, no, it's this.
Yeah.
So that I understand it better, yeah.
Well, thank you for meeting with me today, Nicola. I really appreciate it. And
anything,
good luck.
anytime. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.